You know, some people say that Odoo business management software is like fertilizer, the way it promotes growth and all. But other people say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. And there's some people who would even say Odoo's individual software programs come together to build the perfect suite like building blocks. Well, Odoo is all of these things. Fertilizer, magic beanstalk, building blocks for business. So sign up now at odoo.com, ODOO.com.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
So then he did a crossover and behind the back, and then he drove into the paint. Dunk. Fucking amazing. Just amazing.
So he put the ball in the hoop that he was aiming to get the ball into?
But the way he did it, Tom, was like really cool. It was just like...
See, so I can't get excited about that. It's not working.
I am not telling you until we do a Scientology day.
We are not doing a Scientology day. I don't care what the subject is.
I mean, today's episode is about L. Ron Hubbard. So.
Yay!
So hold on. Sorry, what's going on? Noah?
Well, Eli has kidnapped Heath because he wants to be authentic, I guess, for the Scientology show.
And I won't give him back until this list of demands is met.
Fuck it, let me see that thing. Give me that.
I laminated it.
We are not dressing up in Navy outfits with cutoff shorts.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Again.
And Eli, this diagram here, I'm not sure the e-meter cans are supposed to go there. I think you're just supposed to hold them, not insert them into...
Boring. Boo.
Yeah,
Boo.
and
Okay.
I'm not cleaning your boat, even if you someday have a boat. So...
All right, well then, none of you are getting Heath back.
That's fine by me.
I don't need anything off the top shelf. You guys?
No.
I'm
Got
good.
a ladder. Does that.
Really? You're all just walking away? Well, you won't get Heath back, and I can't return these jeans because I cut them into assless jorts. So Heath would be dead, and you'd be wasting money. Guys? Also, Heath has no water. He's gonna die. Guys? So you were just like his parents.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where you choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts because it's the internet and that's how it works now. I'm Cecil, and I'll be running this group audit without proper accounting credentials, but I won't be the only Thetan from the mean streets of T-Jack to get blasted out of a volcano today. First up, a guy who thought an Engram was a mediocre football player. No illusions.
Okay, and my definition exists out there in the tangible world. I feel like I'm going to win this one.
So, too. Also joining me are two guys that uninstalled their e-meters because they were afraid it was tracking their data. Tom and Eli.
Okay, Cecil, I told you, if I can't argue with a Nazi on a piece of technology, I'm not interested.
When I got my hands on a couple of sweet cans, I don't want anyone at all reporting me. No one needs to track that. My business.
Patrons, there's never been a better time to contribute to the Citation Needed Legal Fund. If you'd like to learn how to keep our team of lawyers on retainer, be sure to stick around till the end of the show. And with that out of the way, Noah, tell us what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
Well, thanks to patron Dan Izarari, and thanks might be the wrong word there. We're going to be talking about L. Ron Hubbard.
Great. And Tom, you preemptively threw out all your psychology books in anticipation of this.
Yeah, man, I like my books the way I like my porn. So it's scratch and sniff, pop up, or nothing.
All right, Tom, who was L. Ron Hubbard?
All right. L. Ron Hubbard was the world's most prolific author.
Oh, I bet his books were really good then, huh?
Prolific, I said. And founder of the new age, self-help, celebrity-obsessed, naval-themed lie detector cult known as Scientology.
And we're sued. There it was, everybody.
I feel like we can prove all of those words.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not sure what's indefensible there. Born in 1911 in Tilden, Nebraska to Ladora May, a school teacher, and Harry Ross Hubbard, a naval officer, L. Ron Hubbard would emerge from his humble Midwestern origins to eventually own an international floating boat church and to later die sequestered in hiding in a very nice motorhome in California. And as absolutely fucking nuts a trajectory in life as this may seem, the full story of L. Ron Hubbard is quite a bit more lunatic than I had imagined before reading.
Right, but not more a lunatic than he could have imagined, because your story doesn't have alien volcanoes. So.
The volcanoes are terrestrial. It's the aliens in them.
Flying to them on DC-8s. Well, they're not DC-8s. They're fanless
space DC-8.
Right. In order to not invent technology, I'll just say everything looked the way it looks now.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I just invented.
Oh, Jesus.
Now. As a child, Hubbard moved around quite a lot, as one might expect, with a father in the Navy. He moved several times within the States and also overseas. And despite this, Hubbard managed to achieve the rank of Eagle Scout in the Boy Scout organization. Now, I only mention this because this seems to be the only formal accomplishment in his biography that I can find. And so it's really, for real, this seems somewhat churlish not to at least throw it in there. But then, to be equally fair, he also claimed that he was the youngest person ever to become an Eagle Scout, a claim which is as nonsensical to make as it would be to test, since the Scouts don't even track that information.
No shit. It's like weird flex, but okay, dude. Whatever. What the fuck?
Neil Armstrong, Bill Gates, L. Ron Hubbard. They're on a wall together somewhere, guys. All together.
All right. Now, Hubbard also claimed that he spent much of his childhood as a cowboy on his family's ranch, despite the fact that his family never owned a ranch. He also claimed that at age 4, he became blood brothers with a Blackfoot medicine man.
What?
Despite the Blackfoot tribe's total lack of having any such blood brother ritual. So they just...
You should see this child support check he has to write to the entire Niagara Falls area town. It's fucking huge.
L. Ron Hubbard, Alex Jones before it was cool.
No shit.
It reminds me of that story that Alex Jones was telling about how when he was 13, he was banging all the cheerleaders. And they wanted me to do like Satan stuff.
Wanted to put makeup on me.
I got my magma all over. You know what I mean? Now, throughout his world travels, young Hubbard drank in the richness and variety of the local peoples, and he reveled in their customs and cultures. No, that's not true at all. What he did instead was he remarked in his travel journal regarding his visits to China and Japan that the gooks are lazy and ignorant.
Jesus Christ.
So something of a swing and a miss there.
There's quotes around that word.
That is, I didn't make that up. That's not by editorializing.
Yeah.
Tom said
That's what he said.
Technically a quote.
Tom, Heath takes 1 week off. Heath takes 1 week off.
Can't try and fill each other's shtick. It's weird.
Yeah.
So something of a swing and a miss on the cultural appreciation front at a young age, though his accounting of that experience was that he spent a year as a neophyte before he made into a Lama priest. So totally can see how he might have confused those experiences.
I'm sorry, a Lama priest?
His Lama priest mentor is actually kind of famous. Maybe you heard of him? Alpaca. Alpaca.
Shit tits.
It's a shit tits indeed. That was a definite shit tits. What's great about Hubbard being a crazy liar is that he's like post Joseph Smith, I saw an angel and these tribe massacred themselves, crazy liar, but he's pre no, while you're alive, we can Google that, crazy liar. So it's just the perfect combination of crazy and lie. He's the Arnold Palmer of crazy liars.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. A person with crazy ideas like that could never find a home on the internet. Thanks, Google. Now that we can check.
All right, now a few more notes that I just have to throw in here somewhere because they're fucking amazing. And I'm going to have to ask your forgiveness on the chronology. His claims have no specificity as to when he purports that they happened. And since they never occurred, I figured I could just throw them in anywhere. So here would be a good spot.
That's how lies work.
Hubbard claims that he lived with Tibetan bandits, that he befriended Manchurian warlords.
Who knew all you needed was one code word to do that? Just one.
And he also claims that he helped savages on a South Pacific island lose their fear of cave monsters by explaining to them that it was simply the roar of the ocean.
Shut the fuck up.
Not of monsters. Now, no one is really sure when these fetishized versions of the exotic savage stories were supposed to have happened, but since they didn't actually happen, I'm just going to say they all happened on October 4th, 1926.
And it's being taught to 5-year-olds on a secret slave boat in international waters. Great job, Tom. Great job. Now it's canon.
May as well be, man. In 1927, Hubbard began his high school career where he was not a great student, a problem he remedied by ceasing to be a student and dropping out almost as soon as he started. Now, eventually, he made his way to Guam, and his mother began to tutor him with the hopes of helping him gain admittance to the Naval Academy, probably because at some point, the military is just a boarding school you don't have to pay for to get rid of the kids that you don't like.
That's actually on all their pamphlets now. The military is just a boarding school you don't have to pay for to get rid of the kids you don't like. Right there on the front.
They would go up by 4 in Illinois. I'll say that. In 1928, he failed the naval entrance exam, and he decided perhaps school was a good idea after. I'll probably try that again. So he tried to enroll in prep school, but he was ruled out for being nearsighted, which I thought that was just kind of fucking rude. And eventually ended up graduating from the Woodward School for Boys in Washington, D.C. in 1930.
Yeah, like, hold on. They wouldn't let kids in because they were nearsighted?
No.
The prep schools back then went by what? Levitical admission standards? Oh, I'm sorry. No, you have a blemish on your leg there. Can't help you.
Also, like, how can you even tell who the nerds in the school then are?
Yeah.
That's fucking confusing.
Yeah, who do you wedgie? You know, what the fuck?
Hubbard went on to George Washington University, declaring a major in civil engineering. But civil engineering is super hard. So he failed so many of his courses, he was placed on probation and eventually given an academic warning due to all those shit grades. His utter and complete academic failure, though, in no way deterred him from claiming to be a nuclear physicist. Also, he failed physics.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, whatever the hardest physics is, yeah, I did that one.
Yeah, right. No, today it would be a quantum physicist. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I think his whole life is like, I tried that once, I was bad at it, I'm an expert. Like, that's like his whole trajectory.
This is a guy who's like, yeah, I'm an expert in string theory, and he can't even tie his shoes.
In his senior year at George Washington, somehow, and I can't possibly imagine how, Hubbard organized an expedition to the Caribbean on a schooner. The point of the expedition being to film pirate strongholds and bivouacs, and to, I love this quote, collect whatever one collects for exhibits in museums.
You know, rocks and shit. Please give me a boat. End quote.
And for like reasons I can't possibly fathom, this was green lighted. But Hubbard's Caribbean vacation was a shit show from the very start. Before the ship even left Baltimore, 10 participants quit. Then a storm blew the ship off course to Bermuda, where 11 more crew members quit. And then more again quit when they arrived in Martinique. The expedition itself ran out of money before finding anything a museum might want, and the ship's owners decided they wanted their fucking boat back. Participants of the failed expedition demanded recompense for the disaster, and so Hubbard quit the university and ran off.
Man, experiential learning credit used to be baller, and now it's like, feed this homeless guy and then promptly forget that homeless people exist. You know?
The second part is hard, Cecil.
I wish it were harder.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to reflect on what an incredible asshole L. Ron Hubbard has to be, right? He's got a bunch of students just lazily sailing in the Caribbean for college credit, and they're going, fuck this jackass. I'm going back to Baltimore, Maryland. Right? And not just one guy, all of them.
He lost them all.
All right, so in February of 1933, Hubbard met Margaret Polly Grubb, and the two were married 6 months later on April the 13th. Margaret was pregnant at the time that they got married, and a cynic might say that that's why they got married, but joke's on them because she miscarried right after the marriage.
Fucking
Take that.
Classic joke.
A few months later, though, she got re-impregnated, and the first of Hubbard's children, Lafayette Ronald Hubbard Jr., was born. Just a couple of years after LRH Jr. was born, along came Catherine May in 1936.
And if you know anything about L. Ron Hubbard, the fact that she wasn't named Ronalda Hubbardina Hubbard is a fucking miracle.
And I want to say, too, let's go back. Let's roll back to the miscarriage here for a second. I just want to say that the real trick is when someone has a baby and then you pull the entire uterus out and the miscarriage is still in there. That's the real trick.
It's like the tablecloth trick.
Exactly. Eli
It's
gets
still in
it.
its wrapper. Look
Eli
at that.
gets
Come
it.
on. Was this your baby?
All right, now having kids is fucking expensive, and L. Ron Hubbard and family were chronically broke, so Hubbard turned his attention to writing. Paid on average a penny a word and writing for pulp fiction magazines, Hubbard worked at an unreal rate. He wrote so much and he wrote so quickly that he had to use rolls of butcher paper in his typewriter so he didn't have to change pages. And he typed at such a pace that sweat poured from him onto his keyboard. Now, for some reason, he published regularly under a number of pseudonyms, all of which are fucking amazing, including Winchester Remington Colt.
Fantastic.
That's amazing.
Oh my God, that's my new name. Joe Blitz.
Nice.
His real name.
And sometimes just Legionnaire. just fuck it. His writing was, by most accounts, passable at best. And although he's most well known for writing sci-fi, he'd pretty much whore himself out to any genre that had a checkbook. He wrote everything from adventure fiction, travel, mysteries, westerns to romances. If he could squeeze a penny from a word, he'd write it.
Probably worth pointing out that while Wikipedia doesn't mention it, either Hubbard was the fastest typist in the universe, or he and his wife both churned out his shitty, plotless genre grabs and gave him the credit because they were hoping he'd get an A for effort. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So 1,084 books is the number I was finding. That's about 21 books a year from 1933 until he died. And later on, you'll see years that he doesn't write shit in. So
Incredible rate.
yeah.
Now, eventually, Hubbard was taken under the wing of editor John W. Campbell. And although they were still struggling financially, Hubbard's first novel, Buckskin Brigades, which sounds like a porn, was published, as were a number of serialized novelettes. Hubbard wrote as many as 100,000 words a month, often holed up in a hotel room in New York, where he also pursued other holes in the form of affairs he managed somehow to have, despite being both a fucking horror show to behold and broke to boot.
He's trying to pay prostitutes in words. Look, this blog post is worth at least $5, dear. $5.
The very idea that a broke L. Ron Hubbard managed to cheat on his wife means no woman in the history of ever should feel bad about or doubt herself. Unless you fucked L. Ron Hubbard. That's the only women who should feel bad about themselves.
Jesus.
In 1938, Hubbard had a revelation during a near-death experience. And that revelation was, I think, that you can lie about anything, and if you seem sincere enough, people will try not to notice you're lying. It was at this time that Hubbard had the inspiration to write Excalibur, a manuscript that still has not been officially published, and which is said to be the basis for Dianetics, which is the groundwork for Scientology. Oh, and that near-death experience, by the way, that was actually just a dental extraction with nitrous. But that didn't stop him from claiming a transcendent experience of perfect clarity as having occurred to him while he was dead.
Oh, okay. What do you mean that wasn't a near-death experience? I was in a graveyard.
What? L. Ron Hubbard, history's first douchebag to claim to have overdosed on marijuana.
Excited about surviving his harrowing dental appointment and jazz is all hell about Excalibur, Hubbard called the president of the American Fiction Guild, and he proclaimed that Excalibur would, quote, revolutionize everything. And I love this, that it was somewhat more important and would have a greater impact upon people than the Bible. Excalibur, you see, put forth the rather radical notion that all life was aimed at surviving, and so behavior of all sorts could be understood if you filtered behavior through that idea. So clearly, this is a once-in-a-generation revelation that no one had written about definitely not in 1859.
Yeah. What, he Christopher Columbus evolution?
God, it was like evolution according to Eli, though, apparently.
Well, right.
In the book, he's just like, so these finches, they're sitting around thinking, I gotta get a better beat.
All right, totally undeterred by history or science or the history of science, Hubbard contacted several publishers and told them that he had written the book and that they were to meet him at Penn Station, where I guess he was going to make him duel or something. I don't know, for the rights to publish Excalibur, but instead, no one at all offered to publish the book. Hubbard later told his agent that the reason for this was that the book was so powerful that whoever read it went insane or committed suicide, and that the last time a reader at a publishing house read the manuscript, the reader walked into the room, threw the manuscript on the table, and jumped out a skyscraper window.
Shut the fuck up.
Now, having read a few dozen pages of Dianetics, I can sympathize with that reader.
Let me just say, a book that makes you Prince Tommen yourself probably isn't very marketable.
Counterpoint, Cecil, Infinite Jest. Infinite Jest.
Oh, well, I was going to stay on theme and just say season 8 of Game of Thrones, but sure, Infinite Jest. That's also good.
Noah keeps jumping out his first floor window.
Now, Hubbard was depressed at his failure to sell Excalibur, having in his head that he was destined for bigger things, telling his wife, quote, "Sooner or later, Excalibur will be published, and I may have a chance to get some name recognition out of it so as to pave the way to articles and comments, which are my idea of writing heaven. Foolishly, perhaps, but determined nonetheless, I have high hopes of smashing my name into history so violently that it will take a legendary form even if all books are destroyed. That goal is the real goal as far as I'm concerned."
I want to have the last book standing is a weird goal. I just want to get that known.
2 books enter, 1 book leaves.
I just appreciate his humility. And Now, Excalibur, while never formally published, would later become part of the Scientology mythos. By the early 1950s, copies of Excalibur were sold to Scientologists for $1,500, and they were sold bound and locked with the warning that 4 of the first 15 people who read it went insane, and that information found within its pages were only to be made known after L. Ron Hubbard was dead.
And one of those 4 people later went on to jump on a couch on Oprah.
Yeah, I feel like people reading that book start a little insane. Come on, guys. Just on the average.
Yeah.
In 1941, Hubbard applied to join the Navy, begging a letter from a friend of his who was a representative for Washington State. I fucking love this. The recommendation letter indicated that Hubbard was, quote, "one of the most brilliant men I've ever known," unquote. And that sounds great until someone later asked Hubbard's friend about the letter, to which he replied that Hubbard had written the letter himself, and he wasn't even sure what the letter was supposed to have been used for.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, man, you mind signing this letter here?
Oh, sure. What's it say? And what do you need?
Whoa. All the questions all of a sudden. Jesus, we're not friends now.
And Hubbard was commissioned as a lieutenant and sent to New York for intelligence training. Spoiler, it didn't take. No. No. A few months later, he was posted to the Philippines, but before he could even get to the Philippines, he was rejected and sent back to the States. The U.S. Naval Attaché writing, quote, "This officer is not satisfactory for independent duty assignment. He is garrulous and tries to give impressions of his importance. He also seems to think he has unusual ability in most lines. These characteristics indicate that he will require close supervision for satisfactory performance of any intelligence duty."
Dude got rejected by the Navy in 1941.
Yeah. Right?
Uncle Sam wanted everyone except L. Ron Hubbard.
Little asterisk on the poster.
Oh, Jesus. I totally didn't catch that.
He tried his hand for a bit as a censor, but eventually he grew bored and restless, and he put in for ship duty, reporting to a shipyard in Massachusetts where a trawler was being fitted into a gunboat. The commandant of the Navy indicated that Hubbard was, quote, "not temperamentally fitted for independent command," and Hubbard was summarily relieved of his command of a boat that had not yet set to sea.
Oh, and remember, this whole time, 21 books a year. think about how great they must be. Easy.
Now, Hubbard clearly wasn't terribly useful, but this was wartime, so they tried again. They sent him to submarine chaser school, and in 1943, he was given command of the USS PC-815. On the first day out of port, 5 hours after leaving San Diego, Hubbard, insistent that he detected an enemy submarine, spent 68 hours locked in a life-or-death battle with a rock formation under the sea.
Oh, Jesus.
Eventually, he and the rock called it a draw, and Hubbard was called back to Astoria after having used all of the ship's depth charges.
Again, Wikipedia doesn't mention it, but when he started giving talks, Hubbard sold himself as the victor of a major naval battle. This was that battle, by the way.
Really? Well, okay, but to be fair, he was on a submarine commanded by L. Ron Hubbard. That's way more near death than even the most harrowing of wisdom tooth extractions. Okay?
That's true.
Now, only a month later, Hubbard mistook an inhabited island belonging to Mexico for an uninhabited, American-owned island.
Oh,
and so he used that island for gunnery practice.
What?
Mexico was deeply fucking unimpressed, and Hubbard was again relieved of his command. The report of the incident noting that Hubbard was, quote, lacking in the essential qualities of judgment, leadership, and cooperation. And they had noted that the only possible way to make any use of him was to assign him to a ship full of babysitters, quote, where he can be properly supervised.
I hope they weren't paying the person who's writing his reassignment orders per word. Jesus.
Now, this is the summation of Hubbard's wartime achievements. And if it sounds like a summation also of his academic achievements, then that just means you're paying some attention here. Hubbard spent the rest of his naval career pretending to be sick to get out of duty. He complained of malaria, ulcers, back pains, headache, rheumatism, conjunctivitis, pains in the side, stomach aches, arthritis, and hemorrhoids.
And Noah still gets 4 podcasts out of it. That's amazing.
Anybody else feel like hemorrhoids was the excuse he went to after the commanding officer started saying, okay, show me.
The Naval Board wasn't having any of this shit, saying that he was, quote, considered physically qualified to perform duty ashore, end quote, but then throwing in the rather snarky, preferably within the continental United States. Like, we're not shipping this fucker overseas where it counts. Now, for his part, Hubbard had to remind himself that he was faking all of this, writing to himself, quote, your stomach trouble you used as an excuse to keep the Navy from punishing you. You are free of the Navy. Hubbard's own accounting has a few minor discrepancies from the official naval records. This is Hubbard in his own writing about his naval career. Blinded with injured optic nerves and lame with physical injuries to hip and back, at the end of World War II, I faced an almost non-existent future. My service record states, quote, this officer has no neurotic or psychotic tendencies of any kind whatsoever, but it also states permanently physically disabled.
Look, guys, I'm so sane they felt the need to point it out. When they let me, what they do? What?
He goes on, and so there came a further blow. I was abandoned by family and friends as a supposedly hopeless cripple and a probable burden upon them for the rest of my days. Yet, I worked my way back to fitness and strength in less than 2 years, using only what I knew about man and his relationship to the universe.
Beachbody.
I had no one to help me. What I had to know, I had to find out. And it's quite a trick studying when you cannot see.
It is. That's true.
He calls himself out. I became used to being told it was all impossible, that there was no way, no hope. Yet I came to see again and walk again.
Yeah, sure, Elron. And that Australian chick cured her cancer with salad too, buddy.
Hey, credit where credit's due. Bragging about curing yourself of the shit you made up is some next level content shit. Come on.
Now, none of this, of course, was even remotely true, but it didn't stop Hubbard from, on occasion, and I love this as well, secreting small pieces of metal in his pocket, which would then drop as he would walk, claiming that the pieces were shrapnel that his body continued to reject and push
Shut
out.
the fuck up. Yeah, sometimes I ejaculate lug nuts. It's a pretty serious condition. It's very serious.
That's how manly I am.
Don't laugh at me.
Gets worse before it's better.
After the war, Hubbard's wife declined to move to California and uproot her family. And so rather than moving to Washington, where his family lived, Hubbard instead moved into the mansion of famed occultist Jack Parsons, where quickly got to work seducing Parsons' girlfriend, Sarah Northrup. Now, for his part, Parsons didn't seem to mind because he was into some pretty freaky shit. And having someone else sexing up your girlfriend is rather small potatoes when you are focused on creating a Babylonian sex magic ritual to summon the supreme Thelemite goddess. So, get in the way. Hubbard happily participated in these rituals, by the way. They mostly involved watching Parsons jerk off while Hubbard scanned the astral planes for signs of the Keymaster.
Hubbard's like, maybe I could watch from the other room.
No, you have to be here to watch for demons.
Okay, cool. Cool.
When I jerk off.
Now, the elemental goddess appeared, which surprised everybody, as long as we consider that goddess to be a woman named Marjorie Cameron. She agreed to participate in the sex magic rituals, and that made Parsons happy, so I guess everybody won? I don't know. So naturally, Sarah, Hubbard, and Parsons decided that since the whole watch me jerk off into a goddess arrives plan had worked so well, it only made sense to start a business together. But mostly individually, they invested a huge amount of Parsons' money into a company called Allied Enterprises. Now, their business plan involved sailing yachts from Miami to the West Coast, then reselling the yachts there because somehow that's a business.
What? Perfect crime.
See, I take this dollar from my back pocket, I light it on fire, I put the ashes in my front pocket. It's foolproof. Foolproof.
Because, you see, technically all those pieces of ash are $1. So I've got like $4 million now. If you want one.
Hubbard thought this whole thing was a great idea, so he let Parsons sink a ton of money into yachts, and then he promptly attempted to steal one of them and sail around the world. But instead, a storm blew him back to the mainland almost immediately, and he was discovered for his theft. Parsons was financially ruined and had to sell that sweet sex dungeon mansion, and then all Hubbard could offer in recompense was a promissory note, which he never repaid.
I owe you one sex dungeon mansion. Do you accept words?
I love it. This dude's grandson comes to the funeral or whatever. He says to the executor of state, like, I know this is going to sound weird. The executor's like, not at this point. Yeah, no, it won't. It really.
In 1946, Hubbard became a bigamist, marrying Sarah despite still being married to Polly. Sarah eventually found out that he was still married, and he divorced Polly and set to work writing his affirmations. These appear to be just some very fucking weird things he felt like he needed to remind himself. And if nothing else proves to you that Hubbard was a con man, these are the lies he needed to write down so he wouldn't confuse himself.
Oh, okay.
1, your eyes are getting progressively better. They became bad when you used them as an excuse to escape the Naval Academy. You have no reason to keep them bad. What? 2, your hip is a pose. You have a sound hip. It never hurts. Your shoulder never hurts. 3, your foot was an alibi. The injury is no longer needed.
Okay, wait. I feel like now he's lying about his injury with these. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening now.
The next one, masturbation does not injure or make insane. Your parents were in error. Everyone masturbates.
And Everyone Masturbates is the title of his unpublished children's book, too.
Everyone masturbates while they poop sold even worse than Everyone Masturbates a whole. It's a crossover.
That's so weird because you bought so many copies, I would have thought it would have boosted.
Yeah, right?
But then the weird thing is, don't let the pigeon jerk you off while you are pooping sold super well. And then if you let a pigeon jerk you off while you're pooping, parents will love those jokes, everybody.
I was going to say, like, you got to read children's books for those.
If you give a mouse a cookie, mwah, peak of humor.
All right, I can have no doubts in my psychic powers. Another affirmation. Here's a good one. You can sing beautifully. Your voice can imitate any singer.
And the next one is, you can throw a football over those mountains. You absolutely can. Yes, you can.
Then they start to get fucking weird.
Now they get weird, huh?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, for Hubbard, weird, right? Men are your slaves. Elemental spirits are your slaves.
Oh, okay. Well.
I feel like you wouldn't need the men then.
You will live to be 200 years old.
Spoiler alert, he would not.
Yeah.
No.
You are as sensitive and sexy as Pan.
Pansexual.
Singing to women, for you sing like a master, destroys their will to resist.
What? My voice is like getting raped. L. Ron Hubbard. What?
Your sexual power is magnificent, and they know it. If they were afraid of it, that is their loss. You are not affected by it.
It's mean to read Heath's notes while he's not here, guys. Can I just...
Well, Tom, so far we have a dude who tells lies at a rate rarely matched by anyone not holding office. So let's take a break to recalibrate our orgone generators and let the audience enjoy a little apropos of nothing. I don't even know if they use orgone generators, but who cares?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Doctor of Spirits, L. Ron Hubbard. What you will see tonight may disturb you. I trade in forces of the dark, forces of the forbidden, so be warned.
I feel warned.
And for our first demonstration, the weak-willed among you may wish to leave, for I shall remove my thumb.
No.
And now it is restored.
You have to take all my money and start a boat religion, I say.
Mine too.
This is how it actually went.
Okay, so before we took a break, we had a story of a failed naval officer who liked to steal boats and jerk off while looking at the sky. What's next for L. Ron, Tom?
What isn't? In April of 1949, Hubbard began attempting to sell the shit stream of nonsense that would eventually become Dianetics, writing to several professional medical organizations to offer what he called his research. But of course, the random musings of a chronic failure are not research.
Correct, Tom. That's a blog.
Okay. Cecil, not in front of the cult. All right? Not now.
So he was rejected by, well, everyone. And so he called his science fiction editor for help. Now, Campbell, a sucker for new age mumbo jumbo psionics bullshit, set Hubbard and Sarah up with a place to live. And along with a friend named Joseph Winter, they began to test Hubbard's therapy techniques on science fiction fans recruited by Campbell. And this was where the basic principles of Dianetics really began to take shape.
Thus marking the most disappointing thing to come out of the science fiction genre until The Phantom Menace.
Now, Hubbard believed that half of your brain was fucking perfect. It recorded and cataloged every event and moment of your life and all of your past lives, too. And that side of your brain could do no wrong. It was basically just like doing Ritalin and Coke and Molly all the time. Just high-octane performance always.
So remember, kids, if you want your brain working optimally, Citation Needed recommends Ritalin, cocaine, and MDMA constantly all the time.
I mean, at least two of us do. I can promise you that.
I'm not saying it wouldn't work. All right.
There we go. Three votes.
Work forever.
I need you to say it wouldn't work.
Majority.
All right. But all that sounds great, but that is only half of your brain. The other half was the reactive side of your brain. And that side's a real piece of shit. That side is why sometimes when you try to sleep, instead, you remember that time you puked and shit yourself simultaneously. Stay up all night hating yourself. In Dianetics, you had to recall the root memory that was causing you the neurosis. And through a process called auditing, those bad memories, or engrams, could be robbed of their power, and thus you would be made clear. So basically what he did is he renamed some of the basic principles of talk therapy, and then he repackaged them. but he also claimed that those who were clear would be free of illness, as all illness was psychosomatic. And this process could improve your IQ, cure asthma, ulcers, the common cold, you name it.
All right. He might as well have called it Un-Eli Yourself in 12 Easy Steps. I feel it's
Well, but like, let's be clear, because he added it's L. Ron Hubbard, so he took something that existed and added a bunch of fucking insane. Like he says, like most of those psychoses come from memories you formed while a fetus. So, nothing if not original, at least.
So Dianetics was launched in May of 1950, and it was a fucking immediate success.
What?
Well, I mean, it sold a lot of books. Nobody ever thought a thought so hard that they cured their asthma. That's stupid. It wasn't
Okay, fair.
Success that way. Anyway, by August, Hubbard had sold 55,000 copies of Dianetics, despite the press, the scientific, and the medical communities all panning this fucking thing really hard. Scientific American wrote that in it were, quote, more promises and less evidence per page than any publication since the invention of writing. Love that. The New Republic called Dianetics, quote, a bold and immodest mixture of complete nonsense and perfectly reasonable common sense taken from long acknowledged findings and disguised and distorted by a crazy, newly invented terminology.
I love that a book written entirely in gibberish is somehow supposed to lead you to clarity, right? Like, that's fucking amazing to me.
Honestly, that summary by the New Republic could replace like 9/10 of any bookstore's self-help section. We'd save everyone a lot of time.
That's true.
Just get a sticker.
Nonetheless, the book found a niche, and the money began to flow in. You see, auditing wasn't free, and it wasn't fucking cheap. Auditor courses could cost upwards of $500, and in short order, Hubbard's fortune was made. Quickly, however, doubts about this nonsense emerged, and Hubbard lost much of his credibility when, in front of an audience of 6,000 people, a demonstration of the power of the clear failed in grand fashion. Supposedly clear Sonia Bianca, who was supposed to have perfect recall, failed in front of everyone to remember a single physics formula, despite majoring in the subject, and failed to remember the color of Hubbard's tie when he turned his back.
That's a little worse.
Oh, Jesus.
Much of the audience turned theirs and walked out.
Note to hucksters, testable claims are not your friend, okay,
Right.
guys? Don't do testable
Still
claims.
play better than we did in Edinburgh. Just saying. I'm just saying.
That's true.
He said most.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Now, Hubbard also began losing control of Dianetics within its own community. So practitioners began combining Hubbard's ideas with occult and esoteric practices, and the organization was now in financial ruin, as was Hubbard's marriage to Sarah.
Oh, it started so strong.
Yeah.
Hubbard had begun having an affair with a 20-year-old PR assistant, and Sarah was off with an auditor named Mike Hollister. In a fit of pique, Hubbard attempted to get the FBI to break them up, turning them in as communists and writing that Sarah was, quote, currently intimate with communists, but evidently under coercion, drug addiction set in fall of 1950, nothing of this known to me until a few weeks ago. As for Hollister, he was described as having, quote, a sharp chin, broad forehead, rather Slavic, end quote. So that's great. The FBI did not take Hubbard seriously. An agent annotated his correspondence with the comment, appears mental.
Appears mental.
I fucking love it. I love when the FBI is like, oh, that's fucking bonkers as shit.
Not
Like, we
giving
want to
fuss.
arrest people.
1950s Comey notes.
Well, again, like this guy is so bad he can't sell someone out as a communist in the 1950s
Without appearing crazy.
Yes. He fails at shit you can't fail at.
He's trying to make his living with writing, and he writes things so unbelievable that, like, McCarthy's like,
Yeah.
No.
Hard pass.
yeah, no. Now, Hubbard then kidnapped Sarah, and he moved her to San Bernardino, where he attempted to have her committed as insane. And that thankfully did not work. So he kidnapped their daughter, and he fled to Havana, Cuba.
Oh.
Sarah filed for divorce, claiming that Hubbard was abusive, but Hubbard had their fucking daughter. So she finally relented, and the couple divorced, but only after he made her sign a letter that he wrote, absolving him of any wrongdoing.
To whom it may concern, it's not him, it's me.
Also, for whatever it's worth, I think he'd make a great naval officer. Signed, my wife. I mean me.
Dianetics was on the brink of utter failure, but it was bailed out by a millionaire believer named Don Purcell, who agreed to bankroll another Dianetics foundation. Now, this partnership failed almost as soon as it began, as Hubbard and Purcell clashed over the future of Dianetics. Hubbard established Hubbard College, and 6 weeks later married an 18-year-old staff member named Mary Sue Whipp.
She would give birth to his second daughter, Deus Ex Machina Ballgag II. Mary Sue Whipp.
Hubbard College pretty much immediately failed, and Hubbard and Mary Sue moved to Phoenix, where Hubbard established the Hubbard Association of Scientologists International to promote the, quote, science of certainty.
Jesus, this guy is such a failure that he can barely find a way to cash in on already having been successful and having money already.
Should have run for president.
Oh, fuck. So Scientology was created because Hubbard had uncovered new research. That research being that he was going to have to get into the religion business if he wanted to make some real money. So he moved from self-help to spirituality. All right, now we're not going to get too deep into the weeds on Scientology. We're sticking mostly to L. Ron, but Scientology taught that, quote, the true self of a person was a thetan, an immortal, omniscient, and potentially omnipotent entity. Thetans, having created the material universe, had forgotten their godlike powers and had become trapped in their physical bodies. And Scientology aimed to rehabilitate each person's self to restore its original capacities and become once again an operating thetan. Now, Hubbard insisted humanity was imperiled by the forces of aberration, which were the result of engrams carried by immortal thetans for billions of years.
Audience, if you were smart, you zoned out at Scientology taught.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody.
That's probably the best place. Yeah.
Now, Hubbard also introduced the E-meter at this point in an attempt to make Scientology seem more credible, I guess.
Yeah, great job with that. Right? Because when I think E-meter, I think credibility. Nailed it. Ron.
Now, the E-meter is basically 1/3 of a lie detector, which means it's 1/3 as useful as something already completely fucking useless. The idea is that when you're being audited, you hold these big, stupid metal cans, and a meter bounces around, detecting changes in the mass of your thoughts.
What?
Yep.
What?
Not a metaphor, the literal mass.
Yeah. In this way, auditors believe that they can tell if you're bullshitting or if there's more to the story than you're letting on. But
your thoughts will be heavier.
More dense.
But Hubbard also famously connected his stupid fucking E-meter to a tomato and claimed that tomatoes screamed when you slice them.
Okay.
Also, thoughts don't have mass, and the whole fucking idea is preposterous.
Okay. A tomato is basically a juicy bag of seeds, okay?
Yes.
The whole fucking purpose of a tomato is to get the seeds outside of the fucking bag by opening it, man. What the fuck?
I don't disagree, but I love that that's where you draw the line, Caesar. You're like, wait a minute, this has become ridiculous.
You know that whole tomato stunt with somebody who's like, that fucking needle just bounces around no matter what you hook it up to. And then he was like, no, oh, fuck. I guess that tomato.
Some really traumatic shit happened when it was a kid.
What about if I prove it to you by hooking it up? Oh, okay. Damn it. Now, eventually, Hubbard incorporated Scientology as a church, and now the Scientology franchises were branches of that church. By 1957, Hubbard was making the equivalent of $2.2 million a year.
Holy shit, he was writing 220 million words a year? Jesus.
I'm sorry, Tom, you said he made $2.2 million a year. Okay, so here's the thing about thetans.
It's not going to happen, Eli.
Not if we don't try, it won't happen. It's worth a try. Noah.
All right, so for its part, the U.S. government started to catch on that this wasn't so much as a religion as it was a get very, very rich quick scheme. The FBI was keeping tabs on Hubbard and Scientology, as were many local police jurisdictions. The IRS reversed the tax-exempt status of Scientology, noting that vast amounts of money were feeding not into the church and the community, but to Hubbard himself. And the FDA took issue with the false medical claims of Scientology, including seizing pills that were being sold as cures for radiation and requiring that they be labeled as utterly fucking worthless.
Jesus. Yeah, but Peter Popoff can say you get out of debt holy water. As long as it's a magic we allow, we're good.
Right.
We're good.
Yeah.
Popoff hands the water to a Muslim person, and it's bullshit. You're under arrest, motherfucker.
All right, so seeking to find a safe haven from both prosecution and persecution, Hubbard started the Sea Org. This was a fleet of 3 ships that he filled with the most dedicated Scientologists. He dressed himself in a Navy-style uniform and adopted language and titles borrowed from his Navy days.
Oh, yeah. Well, you might not know this, boys, but that's just a fucking rock, you idiot, is sailor lingo for great job, Captain.
The fleet sailed around the Mediterranean for 8 years in an attempt to evade capture for fraud. Hubbard routinely had couriers visit him at ports of call to restock his cabin with luxury goods, fine food, and massive amounts of cash, while Sea Org girls in hot pants waited on his every whim.
Okay, again, the thing about thetans that I feel like we haven't addressed.
Eli, no.
Just, what the?
I'm with Eli.
Hot pants.
I want to start a cult so bad. All I've learned from this is how much I want to start a cult.
Stuck on the hot pants, too. She's like, but hot pants, guys.
It's
Hot
the
pants.
hot pants.
Today it would be yoga pants.
Still, please.
All right. Meanwhile, French officials had charged Hubbard with fraud and custom charges, and he feared being caught and extradited. So he returned briefly to the U.S., where he hid out in Queens for a while until the threat of extradition was over. Now, during this time, his health, which was already shoddy, declined terribly. Hubbard was a chain smoker, and he suffered too from bursitis, a heart attack, a stroke, had a huge fucking growth on his forehead, as well as pulmonary embolisms, and even lapsed into a coma after the pulmonary embolisms.
Then he just recalled his root memory through audit and lived to be 200. No. Remember what I said earlier about testable claims?
Yeah. Well, no, but to be fair, he was just trying to get out of work on the ship, I'm sure.
In 1975, in secret, the Fort Harrison Hotel was purchased to be the base of operation on land for Scientology in Clearwater, Florida, and Hubbard lived close by until his location, which is supposed to be a secret, was leaked. Now, Hubbard ended up moving from safe house to safe house, 4 moves in 1 year to evade capture for tax evasion and fraud.
And I want to say, like, again, the only reason Christianity is around today is that we don't have records like this for Jesus.
You do not have holes in your hands. You just said that to get away from the truth.
Hubbard grew increasingly paranoid, believing that Scientology was under attack by a secret Nazi conspiracy called the Tenyaki Memorial, and that conspiracy used a series of drug companies, banks, and psychiatrists as their tools to destroy Scientology and take over the world. So, naturally, Hubbard created the Guardian's Office and ordered Scientologists to infiltrate government agencies by pretending to be janitors and other workers so they could remove any incriminating evidence from government files. Members of the GO successfully infiltrated the Department of Justice and the IRS, but 2 of these fucking yahoos got caught, and the FBI in turn raided Scientology offices and arrested GO members, including Mary Sue, Hubbard's wife, and they were sent to prison.
All right, who should we use for this top secret mission? Oh, I know, someone with my last name. What a good idea.
Right.
They'll never connect us.
Now, the French court, not having had any luck capturing Hubbard, tried him and convicted him in absentia, and now Hubbard was beset on all sides, so he once again took to a life on the move. But he was old and shitty and out of boats, I guess, so instead, Hubbard retreated to a lavish motorhome.
Oxymoron.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And he lived on the move until he eventually settled his motorhome on a 160-acre ranch and began work, no kidding, on his Space Jazz album.
Oh, come on.
Among many others. The Space Jazz album featured the musical stylings of sometimes a horse neighing and laser sounds.
Wait, hold on now. Laser sounds, do you just mean like a buzz? Because that's the sound a laser makes. Not like a pew-pew sound.
I think it's a pew-pew
sound. That's a fake sound. But I just want to say, by the way, I'm a huge fan of that kind of music. My favorite band is ELO, Equine Light Orchestra. Amazing.
Now, needless to say, you probably don't have a Spotify playlist based on this or any other Hubbard album. And so distraught, Hubbard had a stroke and died. Though Scientologists believe that he simply discarded his horrible, decrepit meat shell and that he'll be back anytime now. And so every day, his clothes are washed carefully and laid out for him so that he's not naked when he returns. And for that, I think we should all be grateful.
Jesus. Well, Tom, if you had to summarize what you learned in one sentence, what would it be?
I'm starting a cult next week. If you guys want to get together at my house around 4.
The code word, ladies, is hot pants. Okay.
The dress code, at least, is hot pants. I don't know.
Tom, are you ready for the quiz?
Yeah, let's do this thing.
All right, Eli, start us off.
All right, Tom. L. Ron Hubbard sure was wacky, and Scientology has followed in his footsteps. Which of the following is a real thing that Scientologists do? A. Maintain a private navy that makes its recruits sign a 1 billion year contract when they join.
What?
Yeah, that's so great.
B. Scientology demands that pregnant/birthing mothers stay totally silent so the baby doesn't get all engrammed up. What? C. They tie you to a chair and beat the shit out of you if you have depression. Or D.
Wait, does that one work? Asking for a friend.
I'd have to find out. D. All of the above
You're the friend.
and so much other crazy shit that the original bit for this joke was just to go with 22 other letters.
I'm going to go with D because I know those are all true.
Correct. I am the friend.
All right, Tom. The movie version of L. Ron Hubbard's life is called A, To Live and Let Dianetics. B, 21 Engrams. C, Thetan Go and Cash. That one doesn't work. That one doesn't work. That one's not good. D, Xenu Jack City.
It's a strong ending.
All right, I'm going to go with. We didn't get to the Xenu, so I'm going to go with Xenu on this one.
Okay,
Xenu Jack
absolutely. Xenu Jack City. Absolutely.
Underrepresented.
Yes.
All right, I have one final question for you here, Tom. I actually read Dianetics.
Oh my God.
To cover.
The fuck?
Because a friend of mine wouldn't shut the fuck up about how brilliant it was and how it changed his life. And I was living in an RV and it was literally the only book in the RV. And then later, when I challenged him to point to a single passage in that book that made any meaningful impact on him or even could theoretically, he admitted that he'd actually only read the first couple of chapters.
Oh my God, you read the whole thing.
I have that same friend, by the way.
Noah, I want to point out that you're the only person I know that would subject themselves to a 500-page book of gibberish to prove somebody wrong.
I would do a lot more than that, Tom.
You know what? You're wrong. Let me spend like 9 hours researching this.
All right. So my question to you is, obviously, what should that friend go fuck himself with? A, an e-meter. B, all the e-meters. C, a parking meter. Or D, a kilometer.
All right. Well, since I got 3 tickets yesterday, I'll go with the parking meter because I'm getting fucked by them regularly.
That's a good guess. It's actually a copy of the book Dianetics, which is larger than a goddamn parking meter. And I probably should have noticed that only the first few pages really did look leafed through. Anyway, so you were close, though.
All right, Noah, you are the winner this week. You stumped Tom.
Oh, awesome. Well, I like you calling me the winner, so you get to do the essay.
Great. All right. Well, for Heath, who isn't here, Eli, Tom, and Noah, I'm Cecil. Thanking you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, I will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can visit citationpod.com for all our other amazing projects. And if you'd like to help pay for all the billable legal hours, you can make a per episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod, or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. Maybe iTunes, because there's some negative reviews there you might need to counteract. If you'd like to get in touch with us, check out the past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes. Be sure to check out citationpod.com. And remember, blink twice if Tom Cruise kidnapped you.
And your card was the 7 of diamonds.
No, but seriously, I can't give this guy enough money. I just can't.
Right?
This is your before and after story. Instead of imagining a rewarding career in medical imaging, Southeastern College can actually take you there. Prepare for a career in ultrasound, radiology, and X-ray technology with hands-on specialized training, simulations, and real-life experience with the latest imaging technology. You'll be ready to play a vital role on any healthcare team. Transform your life by helping others. Southeastern College. Your future is bright. Visit scc.edu to get started.